You have heard the words supply and demand hundreds of times. You have seen them in news articles and heard them in conversations, but no one ever stopped and explained exactly what those words mean for you. For your paycheck, your grocery bill, your career choices, every explanation you have found either buries you in jargon or treats you like you already know the basics. Neither one helps you. In the next few minutes, that changes. You will understand exactly how prices form, why you make the choices you make, and how to use that knowledge every single day. No jargon, no skip steps, one idea at a time. Microeconomics is the study of how individual people and businesses make decisions. That is it. Nothing more complicated than that. The word micro means small. So microeconomics zooms in on the small decisions, your decisions. Should you take that job? Should you buy that product? Is that deal worth it? This is different from macroeconomics, which looks at entire countries and economies. Macro asks, why is the country in a recession? Micro asks, why did that price just go up? Macro is about the forest. Micro is about the tree you are standing in front of right now. Why does this matter to you? Because microeconomics describes rules that are already running in the background of your life. Every time you decide what to buy, what job to take, or whether a deal is worth the price, these rules are in play. Understanding them does not change the rules, but it does let you see the game clearly. You are going to learn 6 concepts. Each one builds on the last. By the end, they will fit together into one clear picture of how prices and decisions work. Here's what's actually happening every time a price exists. The first concept is scarcity. Here is what scarcity means. Resources are limited, but human wants are not. You only have so much money. You only have so many hours in a day. Those things are limited, but the list of things you want, more food, a better phone, a vacation, a nicer apartment, that list never ends. This matters because scarcity is the reason economics exists at all. If everything were free and unlimited, no one would need to make choices, but you do have to make choices constantly because you cannot have everything. Here is a concrete example. Imagine you have $1,200 after paying your bills this month. You want to take a vacation that costs $1,200. You also need to pay down a credit card debt. You cannot do both. The money is scarce. You have to choose one. The key point is this. Every choice is a resource allocation decision. You are always deciding where to send your limited resources, your money, your time, your energy. This is the important part, and it is the one most people have heard but never fully understood. The second concept is supply and demand. Here is what it means. Every price in the world is set by 2 forces working against each other. One force is demand, how much buyers want a product. The other force is supply, how much sellers are offering. When demand is high and supply is low, prices go up. When demand is low and supply is high, prices go down. The price you see on a shelf is not random. It is the point where those 2 forces balance out. This matters because it explains price changes that otherwise seem unfair or random. Prices are not set by greed or luck. They are set by the math of supply and demand. Here's a concrete example. You open the Uber app on a rainy Friday night at 11 p.m. The price is 3 times the usual rate. Why? Because at that moment, demand spiked. Thousands of people all wanted a ride at the same time. The number of drivers did not increase fast enough to match that demand, so the price rose until fewer people wanted rides. That is supply and demand working in real time. The key point is this. Price is a signal. When a price goes up, it is telling you that demand went up or supply went down or both. Now here's why this matters to you in every decision you make. The third concept is opportunity cost. Here is what it means. Every time you make a choice, you are also giving something else up. That thing you give up is the opportunity cost. The real cost of any decision is not just the money you spend, it is also the next best thing you could have done instead. This matters because most people only count what they pay, but the full cost of a choice includes what you are walking away from. Here is a concrete example. You are deciding whether to take a full-time job right now or stay in school for 2 more years to finish your degree. The job pays $40,000 a year. You might think the school option costs you only your tuition, but that is not the full picture. You are also giving up 2 years of income, $80,000, plus the work experience you would have gained. That is the real opportunity cost of going back to school. The key point is this: the real cost of anything is the next best thing you gave up to get it. Let me show you exactly how this works in your daily life. The fourth concept is incentives. Here's what it means. People respond predictably to rewards and costs. When you make something more rewarding, people do more of it. When you make something more costly, people do less of it. This is not a theory. It is a description of how human behavior actually works. This matters because once you understand incentives, you can predict behavior, including your own. You can also spot when a system is set up to push you in a direction you did not choose consciously. Here is a concrete example. Your local coffee shop gives you a loyalty card. Every 10 coffees earns you 1 free coffee. Before the loyalty card, you split your coffee purchases between 3 different cafes. After the loyalty card, you go to that one cafe almost every morning. The cafe changed your behavior by changing the incentive. 1 free coffee after 10 was enough to redirect your spending entirely. The key point is this: to predict what someone will do, find the incentive. Behavior follows rewards. Here's what's actually happening when you make small daily decisions. The fifth concept is marginal thinking. The word marginal means 1 more unit. Marginal thinking means making decisions 1 small step at a time rather than all at once. Here is what it means in practice. You do not decide, should I ever eat pizza? You decide, should I eat 1 more slice right now? The decision happens at the margin, at the edge of what you have already done. This matters because real decisions always work this way. You are never choosing from zero. You are always choosing whether to do a little bit more or a little bit less. Here is a concrete example. You've already eaten 2 slices of pizza. You are considering a 3rd. Your stomach is getting full. You weigh the enjoyment of that 3rd slice against how full you will feel. You decide it is not worth it and stop at 2. That is marginal thinking. You did not decide never to eat pizza. You decided whether 1 more unit of pizza was worth the cost at that specific moment. The key point is this. The right question is always 1 more. Is it worth it? Decisions happen at the margin, not all at once. This is the important part. This is how prices stabilize on their own. The 6th concept is market equilibrium. Here is what it means. In any market, buyers want low prices and sellers want high prices. These 2 groups are always in tension. But over time, the market moves toward a point where the amount sellers want to sell equals the amount buyers want to buy. That point is called equilibrium. When the price is too high, sellers cannot move their products. They lower the price to attract buyers. When the price is too low, buyers fight over the limited supply. Sellers raise the price to take advantage of that demand. This back and forth keeps happening until both sides are satisfied. That settling point is equilibrium. This matters because it explains why markets fix themselves without anyone directing them. No one tells sellers to lower their price. The feedback from buyers does it automatically. Here is a concrete example. A popular artist announces a concert. The official tickets sell out in minutes at $80 each. People who bought tickets start reselling them. At first, resellers list them for $300. Some buyers pay it, others do not. The resellers with unsold tickets lower their prices. Buyers who wanted $300 tickets already found them. The remaining buyers and sellers negotiate until a price appears where supply and demand match. That is equilibrium finding itself on the secondary market. The key point is this: markets are always moving toward balance. No one has to manage that process. It happens automatically through the behavior of buyers and sellers. Now, here's why this matters. These 6 concepts are not separate tools. They are one connected model. Start with scarcity. Because resources are limited, you have to make choices. You cannot have everything. That is where everything begins. Now, add opportunity cost, because you have to make choices. Every choice you make comes with a price. The price of the thing you did not choose. Scarcity forces choices. Opportunity cost names what those choices actually cost you. Now add incentives. Incentives are what moves supply and demand. When the government taxes cigarettes, it raises the cost of smoking. Demand for cigarettes falls. That is a negative incentive inserted directly into a market. When a company offers a bonus for hitting a sales target, it raises the reward for selling. Sales go up. Incentives shape what both buyers and sellers decide to do. Now add marginal thinking. Marginal thinking is the process that actually drives buyers and sellers toward equilibrium. A seller does not suddenly drop the price by 40%. The seller lowers it a little, checks the response, and adjusts again. The buyer does not decide in one moment what they are willing to pay. They compare one offer to the next, making marginal decisions until they find the right point. Marginal thinking is the mechanism that moves markets to equilibrium. All 6 concepts connect into a single picture. Scarcity creates the need to choose. Opportunity cost measures the true price of those choices. Incentives shape what buyers and sellers decide. Supply and demand translate those decisions into prices. Marginal thinking is how individuals navigate that process, and equilibrium is where it all settles. Here's what's actually happening when people misread economics and get it consistently wrong. The first common mistake is thinking that free things have no cost. Something being free in money does not mean it is free in cost. When you scroll social media for an hour, you paid nothing in dollars, but you spent 1 hour of your time. Time is a resource. It is scarce. That hour had an opportunity cost. Whatever else you could have done with it. Free in price does not mean free in cost. The second common mistake is confusing a price rising with demand rising. These are not the same thing. Demand is a force. Price is the result. When demand rises, price goes up as a consequence. But when price goes up, that does not mean demand went up. Price is the output of supply and demand. It is not an input. Confusing the two leads to backward reasoning about why prices change. The third common mistake is treating demand as fixed. People often say demand for X is always high, but demand shifts constantly. It shifts with income. When people earn more, they buy more. It shifts with taste. When a trend fades, demand falls. It shifts with substitutes. When a cheaper alternative appears, buyers switch. Demand is not a fixed number. It is a moving force. The fourth common mistake is evaluating a deal only by its price. If something is on sale for 50% off, that looks like a win. But if buying it means you cannot put money toward a bill you owe, the true cost includes the interest you will pay on that debt. Anytime you evaluate a deal, you need to ask not just, what am I paying, but what am I giving up to pay it? That is opportunity cost in action. Let me show you how to use this knowledge starting today. First, use marginal thinking when you negotiate your salary. When you ask for a raise, do not frame it as, I deserve more. Frame it at the margin. Ask, what would it cost this company to hire someone to replace me for this specific project? If the answer is $15,000 in recruiting fees and training time, then paying you $5,000 more is the economically rational choice for your employer. You are showing your marginal value. That is a stronger argument than any appeal to fairness. Second, evaluate every deal by its opportunity cost, not just its price. Before you make a significant purchase, ask, what am I giving up to afford this? If you're going into debt to buy something, the real cost includes the interest. If you're using savings, the real cost includes the return that money could have earned. You are not just spending money, you are allocating a scarce resource away from its next best use. Third, use supply and demand to understand price spikes. After a hurricane, prices for generators and bottled water often spike sharply. This looks like price gouging, but supply fell sharply and demand spiked at the same moment. The higher price does two things. It signals to suppliers in other regions to send product fast, and it prevents one buyer from taking all the supply. Understanding the mechanism does not mean you have to approve of the outcome, but it helps you understand what is actually happening. Fourth, build your personal budget using opportunity cost explicitly. Instead of listing expenses as dollar amounts, list them as trade-offs. I'm choosing to spend $200 on dining out this month instead of putting $200 toward my savings goal. Making the trade-off visible changes how you evaluate each choice. You are no longer tracking numbers, you are tracking decisions. You now have the 6 concepts that form the core of microeconomics. Here is every key point in one sentence each. Scarcity. Resources are limited, wants are not, so every choice is a resource allocation decision. Supply and demand. Price is the point where the amount sellers offer meets the amount buyers want. Opportunity cost. The real cost of any choice is the next best thing you gave up to make it. Incentives. People respond predictably to rewards and costs, so behavior follows the incentive structure. Marginal thinking. Decisions happen one unit at a time, and the right question is always one more. Is it worth it? Market equilibrium. Markets move automatically toward the point where supply and demand balance without anyone directing the process. At the beginning of this video, you had heard the phrase supply and demand 100 times and still could not fully explain what it meant. You can explain it now. You can also explain what drives it, what it produces, and how to use that knowledge in your own financial decisions. You now think like an economist, and you did not need a textbook to get there.